Greetings, family. Welcome to Magnus Crystal's Pyramids. We got a show for you tonight. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Putting out a call to the warrior in you, to the healer in you, the king, the queen, the magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Remember, always who you are. Yes. Yes. I am love, wisdom, power. Yes. Yes. I am love, yes, power. Yes. I am love, wisdom. Yes. I am love, wisdom, power. Yes. Yes. I am love, wisdom, power. Master. Yes. I am. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Yes. I am. Say to yourself. Yes. I am protected. Yes. Yes. I am. Master. I am. Yes.
Okay, family, here we go. Well, let's do the invocation. Thank you for joining us now and in the future. We got a renowned guest tonight, and we're going to speak on a topic that is literally all of us are feeling. Prophecy warning. So before we begin, let's ask our ascended master coaches and guides. I am in me. I am in you, the listening audience. I am in Laji. I am in featured guest Master Yao Morris. We individually and collectively come together tonight to remember that we are galactic, supernatural, awe-inspiring beings with a little amnesia. And through focusing the crystalline, multidimensional, intergalactic presence within our scintillating fire deep in our hearts, we call upon our I am. I am forgiving everybody from my past lives. Yes, I am. And I ask everybody forgive me from my past lives, because we are greater than our memories. We are greater than our dreams, goals, and aspirations. We are Nuk Pu Nuk. We are Om Mani Padme Om. We are Om Shanti. We are I am. And as we bring, most of all, we forgive ourselves, because I am worthy, because you, me, we are dream masters. So as we turn the consciousness into the here and now and unlimited possibilities of the future, we say, yes, I am forgiving all future possibilities and every dream reality, because I am greater than all holographic realities. Yes, I am. And most of all, I forgive myself, because I am worthy. So we call in the name of love, Yeshua, we thank you and invite you to be on this platform. Saint Germain, we thank you and invite you to be with us on this platform. Simeon Toko, Sheikh Amadou Bamba, we thank you and invite you. Mary of Magdalene, we thank you and invite you. Black Madonna, Mother Mary, we thank you and invite you. Archangel Michael, we thank you and invite you to guide, protect, and direct all our family, friends, loved ones, our girlfriends, our wives, our aunties, uncles, grandpa, grandmas, because family, there are predators out here, and the sisters, they need protection. They need guidance because our sisters are getting bamboozled by scammers on a quantum level. Because you have to be able to listen to your wombs, my sisters. There are predators that will empty your money for tens and thousands of dollars. And I pray for the one who came to me today who got scammed because she was afraid to listen to her intuition. She was afraid to listen to her femininity, and she got bamboozled and vampired by scammers from another country. So we ask Archangel Michael, protect each of us collectively and individually. We thank and invite Nikolai Tesla. We thank and invite Sanat Kumara. We thank and invite Enoch, the Ethiopian who ascended into the heavens and became Metatron. We thank and invite Lady Buddha, Lady Krishna, Imhotep, Ptahotep, Akhenaten, Marcus Mosaic Garvey, Chief Geronimo, Chief Crazy Horse, Chief Sitting Bull, Chief Seattle, Nat Turner, John Brown, and all the shaman warriors who pave and bend and align. We ask for divine intervention upon the mass of population of the earth with our ascended masters from Palladian, Dogon star system, Andromeda, for a massive coup of consciousness. May all on the planet have the golden touch of enlightenment and ascended love, wisdom, and power, including leaders known and unknown, human and non-human. We asking for a consciousness coup upon the planet. We also send a prayer to all our friends, family, and loved ones. I call Phil Valentine today, Laji and Master Yao, because he's in the eye of the direct hit of the Hurricane Milton, because he's in Orlando. So family, put your prayers out, and we ask in the name of love that he be protected, and everyone, my brothers and friends in Fort Myers, may they be protected, because a lot of times these storms bypass, family and friends in our hoods, and seems like hurricane sometimes has grace. So we ask for that grace to protect everybody. May everybody experience a miracle. And with that being said, we say Ashe, Mahalo, Donada, Wado, Amen, Amen. So let it be spoken, so let it be done. Welcome, Master Yao. Welcome, Laji. Man, we are in some interesting times, Master Yao. How you feeling, brother?
Thank you. I'm feeling excellent. Thank you so much. And
good seeing you again. And Laji, it's good seeing you. Let me put on a background that isn't so spinning. Let me put on, where is it? We're going to go down to the ocean. Take it to the water, baby Bubba. So, Laji, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you clearly. Can you hear me good?
Yeah. This is Master Yao. So let me give a formal introduction, family. This is one of my Tantra master teachers. This is Master Yao. He is a published author of multiple books, including Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine, and a host of other books, so that we may be able to do a critical analysis to get out of our monkey mind paralysis, because a lot of us are in our monkey mind paralysis from multi-generational trauma, and we bring forth and perpetuate misdirected drama individually and collectively. I gotta acknowledge a brother who's like really cutting the ice on social media, Charlton Heston. Charlton, I think it's Heston. No, Charleston White. We got to break the spell. He said in a very graphic way, Master Yao, graphic way, Laji. Nigga, love to hate and hate to love. We got to break that Willie Lynch syndrome. And I salute you, Master Yao, for breaking ice, frozen paradigms through heightened awareness. So welcome to Magnets, Crystals, Pyramids. And I'm going to bring you up front so that your message can be heard loud and clear. Looking good, brother.
Thank you.
You look like you just came out of a hot soaking jacuzzi or something. I know you was working.
No,
No.
no, no.
The last time you had a golden glow around you, I was like, man, I got to figure out what jacuzzi model you had. And family, whatever part of the world you are listening from, put it in the comments. Whatever state, city, town, country, we welcome for you to. And welcome Laji. And welcome everyone who is part of this collective. As Marvin Gaye said, what's happening, brother? You got the mic, Master Yao. What's cooking?
Oh, okay. I want to first of all thank you for bringing me on this show. I always love coming on here. And we are in some pretty interesting times. There's good and there's bad. But I'm hoping that I can present a tiny bit of insight to help some people get through the next few months. Some of the stuff that I'm going to say will probably people already know. Some of it probably they don't know. But I really want to, emphasize this message because this is a very important, pivotal time. Should I move forward and just go through it?
Let it rip, brother. Let it rip.
Oh,
No breaks. No breaks.
no breaks. Okay, so to give a bit of background to what's happening right now, probably the most important thing that's going on is there is a series of solar storms happening now. There's a lot of stuff happening. I'm not going to bore you guys with all of it, but probably the most important thing that's going on right now is that there are some solar storms that are affecting the Earth.
Wow.
Not really mentioning it because, even though the effect can be felt with satellites and with our, system here in terms of our communication system, I'm really talking about the fact that the sun is playing a role in helping the Earth move into shifting into a new, I hate to say reality, but that's more or less kind of what's happening. There's like a war going on right now, and it does affect people. I want to try to put some insight into it if I can. So there's been like gradual steps since the last 20, 25 years. There's been a series of gradual steps to sort of put the world in a like a chokehold to kind of to stop something that's happening that actually it really can't be stopped. But there's a lot of forces trying to stop it anyway. And the final thing that's happening is that mankind has reached the limit of the previous stage of consciousness. And they're being forced now because they've just kind of delayed and messed around and kicked the can down the road for quite a few decades. And we should have taken that time and prepared for what's happening. But for the most part, the masses have not. So we have a situation now. There's three of them. I'll go over the first. The first is, you could call it a conflict or a war if you want. It's of course a little bit deeper than that. But you have two sides. One side, and I'll refer to some of the political figures associated with it, but they are not really the main players. So we have someone running for president, Trump, and he's connected to what is an oligarchy, and these are people, some of them with resources, money, influence, or whatever, and they're seeking to bring about a second confederacy. In other words, the oligarchs basically tried this before in the 1800s, and they had all of this power and everything, and they wanted to keep slavery going on, mainly so that the oligarchy could grow and take greater control. And of course, it was stopped. That is now, for the last 30, 40 years, have been building up to try to do it again because they don't like the other people who are having a great influence on world events. The people that they're against is, for the most part, their face is the Democratic Party, you could say, to some extent anyway. And they're what we call the deep state. They're not something that's just in the US. This is a global thing to move things forward in a certain way, to gain greater control and to stop people, regular folks, from embracing what's happening in consciousness and to getting into a state where they can rid themselves of the interference from the outside. And if we go back to around 1980, 1990, the deep state moved away from different agencies in the government and began to branch out into the corporate world. And right after that, they began forming specialty corporations that they designed and they funded to act as like an executive branch of their government, their new private, whatever you want to call them. We're looking at agencies where like Facebook and Google, GPS, BlackRock, and things like that. So they created these companies to serve as like a centralized um, executive branch to do with money mainly the things that they are trying to implement. If corporations are big enough, or people are big enough, or billionaires are big enough, then the select ones who are able to make some type of major influence on the world, they're being forced and have been forced for the last few years to make a choice because the oligarchs pretty much in terms of America, they pretty much want to take charge of certain something because of something that's coming up next year. At the same time, the deep state has been losing its hold on a lot of things, and they've had a lot of disruptions to their plan, which they are very upset about. And so they're trying to once and for all put this oligarch in their place. So you have this war. That's part of the warning that I want to give you as to what's going to happen in this war and why you have to protect yourself. I'm not talking about protect yourself from the change in consciousness. The change in consciousness is good and we should embrace it. But as a consequence of the resistance of these organizations, both of them. So I'm not really for Trump or Kamala, not really. I'm just trying to let you know what the game is, what the referee, who the referees are, and what's going on, and why it's going to regular people potentially will suffer because of it. So that's one of the battles. Uh, so just to give you a little bit of background, there was a wealth transfer in 2008. So we had a major recession then, financial recession. Some financial companies went under and whatever. But what was really happening there was that the recession was caused. It was intentional, and the purpose was to cause the banking system to fail. And Obama then transferred approximately $3 trillion of public money into the hands of the deep state. That's basically what happened. And not only the money transfer occurred uh, to supposedly save these major corporations and insurance companies and banking, but more importantly, uh, there were certain changes in the way the system itself was able to operate. So this wealth transfer occurred. And then the Federal Reserve opened up the window, and banks could pretty much borrow money at almost zero interest. So they gave away $3 trillion from the taxpayers, and then they allowed them to borrow quite a large amount of money over and above that, so that they could fund the next step. They've been doing this for the last 40 years, but this next step that they were planning in 2008, they needed money, more money, to make it happen. And so they, of course, they took the public money and they began buying up assets and putting things in place to take the next step, which was supposed to happen, around 2015, 2016. It didn't happen. Trump got elected, and that kind of stopped things for a while. And then, COVID came, and COVID was something that, it was created, and it had a certain particular purpose, but it did not serve that purpose. It got all screwed up, and other powers intervened to change the COVID scenario. Okay.
You have an audience essentially 70% men. A large percentage of them are Jedi mystics, and family. Master Yao is a Tantra Jedi, and so you could talk to us like you feel a disturbance in the force, because our brother Laji up here in the upper right corner, he's speaking of the same thing. Like, keep one eye open while you're sleeping, family, because you have diabolical agendas that are trying to stop the evolution of DNA divine activation. So, let it rip, brother.
So they were trying to do the wealth transfer a second time in the time period between 2015 and 2020, but things did not go well for them. So first Trump got elected, and then COVID. And the COVID thing, it was used because there was another player in the game that neither the oligarchs nor the deep state were expecting. And so they changed a lot of stuff to mess up the agenda. And so the wealth transfer was delayed, but they just said, well, we're still going to do it if we possibly can. But so they basically got delayed 7 or 8 years. In the meantime, when they had the opportunity, they implemented parts of the plan anyway. And this, was the source of the inflation, source of the people buying up the property and driving up prices. And this is something going on around the developed world. It's not something just going on, it's happening in Mexico, it's happening in France, it's happening everywhere except in Russia and China. So what I'm trying to say is that, their thinking is that people will not be able to embrace something different if they're busy worried about their finances, this, relationships, that, this, that, and the other. But it is not working. We have reached a limit. And when I say we've reached the limit, it would take me a couple of days to go over the whole history of it, but mankind has basically reached a limit and can't go any further. So it's not like we have a choice. This next layer of consciousness is here now. And basically, the more that human society tries to continue resisting it, the more pain human society is going to experience. So you have this situation here where, the deep state and the oligarchs are fighting to try to gain control because this wealth transfer is going to go forward in a way. It may not go forward the way they want it to, but what they want to do is take this time $10 trillion out of the US Treasury and use it to again save the economy. That's, we're going to say we need to transfer this wealth to save the economy. And basically, if Trump wins, then their game plan is to basically sabotage people as to the extent that they can and generate as much confusion and pain as possible so that people will really not easily embrace this new consciousness. But I don't think that they really understand that you cannot stop it. It's not something that you can stop. It just is. It's like a mechanical thing where you reach the end of the road and you just can't go any further in that direction. But apparently, or on purpose, they don't want to recognize this. They're still continuing to do this same type of power play stuff that man has been doing on the earth for the last 1,000 years. But it's all for nothing. So now they've brought Russia and China into the game to counter what the deep state, not America, but the deep state acting through the American government. They're basically saying, okay, well, if you guys are going to continue to play the game that you've been playing, you're going to find out that it's not going to work, and it won't, and it's not. They may do the wealth transfer, and if they do that, they're basically going to sabotage the banking system. They brought Russia in and China in to try to counteract what America is doing. And it's not the American people, it's the deep state acting through that. And it's like, okay, Russia's saying, if you guys continue this, then we're gonna put up a stone wall that you cannot go over. And they're even threatening, nuclear stuff, which don't know if they're going to do that or not. But basically, China and Russia are basically saying, you guys are not going to be allowed to take over like that. And they are very adamant in stopping the US. And so it's like there's this, there's this chess game going on. And the people in all of these places, in China, in Russia, in the US, in Europe, wherever, even in Africa to some extent, are victimized because of this. It's like, if you don't play ball with us, you are going to suffer. And that's why you see mass migrations all over, people trying to get someplace where all of this turbulence isn't going on. But the migrants, the people being forced to move, are being used as pawns as well. So now you've got this situation where this wealth transfer is being pushed of $10 trillion to take the next step in this plan. And you have this situation where whoever's in power after this election will have some decision, will have the greatest amount of influence on who's going to control this wealth transfer. It's like, if the oligarchs or take power at the government level, then they will have some ability to control who gets to use and this $10 trillion. If the deep state is successful and Kamala gets elected, or whoever whatever, And I'm not even sure this election is going to go through, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure that it's going to be allowed to continue because it is a sham. We don't need, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. But let me not get distracted with that. So you've got Russia and China saying if the U.S. has continued trying to force this agenda and we're not going to allow it. And so you've got that thing happening. Then you've got the deep state and the oligarchs fighting. You got that happening. And then you've got the natural forces, the natural world. And at the top of that is the sun, basically saying, the time has come. You got to get out of the nest and fly. In other words, humanity has reached this point. You can't be in the nest any longer. And the parents of the duckling or whatever you want, eagle or whatever word you want to use, are basically saying, look, humans, you got to step out of the nest and fly. You can't be here anymore. You've got to take off and try your wings and start doing stuff. You got to put on your big boy pants. So you've got this energy realm that has been more or less ignored, except for a few scientists have started to see it and start to work with that. And you've got the light body realm, which is an even more powerful realm, where the sun is at the top of that, basically saying humans have to start engaging these realms, recognizing that they have a light body and energy body, and they have a higher consciousness that's basically sitting there dormant. People aren't using it. And they're basically saying, well, you're going to have to start using it. You don't have a choice. You've reached the limit of where you can go just dealing with the material realm. You have to start recognizing that you are consciousness, your spirit. You're not a body. We inhabit these bodies and we've been doing stuff with these bodies, but we've reached the end of the place where we can continue to have this body centric mentality to deal with everything, where personalities are running rampant and all of this negativity is shaping the life experience of 95% of the humans on the planet. And they're going to have to embrace this consciousness, this spirit body, this inner self, this higher consciousness, because they can't really get out of this pit unless they do. And this situation on Earth is going to become very, very, very negative if we don't. It's not a choice. You must do it, or you just keep being subjected to all of these punishments. And the natural world is basically pushing us gently with all of these hurricanes, and fires, and earthquakes. And they haven't even started with the volcanoes and the other kind of things that are gearing up to happen. There's more volcanic activity now at a low level than there's ever been in the last 50 years. And it's not bad. They haven't really erupted in any great measure yet. They're just kind of saying, look, if you don't want this, then you better take steps to avoid this thing happening. Same thing with the earthquakes. We're not having really bad ones yet, but they are ready to rip if people don't start getting smart about their life. It is a very dangerous time. And whichever side wins this election, whichever side wins the conflicts going on in Russia, because just like there's conflicts in the US, there's terrible conflicts going on in Russia. There's terrible conflicts going on in China. And it's very clear that these governments and the people behind these governments should be trying to get people ready for this and helping them transition into this so that they don't suffer as bad. Of course, they're doing just the opposite. Financially, you need to have some cash on hand. You need to have enough food to last for 30 days if the disruptions get worse. And I am afraid that after this inauguration, whomever wins, that they are going to get very much worse. People need to get prepared. That, you know, you've got people now having all these issues in their personal life, and this is by design. The conflict between males and females is by design. You've got a situation again where the the po- the sexual potential of men and their testosterone level and their level of virility is going down every 5 years, to the point that the birth rate in the US is now below 1.5 if we don't count the migrants, which is another story why they're bringing the migrants in. So now we have a situation where the US, for the first time, is not producing enough people to maintain its population. The influx of migrants is causing that to temporarily not be an issue, but it can't go on forever. And so we have the birth rate because of the people who are not aligning as male or female, they're aligning as something else. And then you have a situation where people just aren't able to get along anymore. They've reached the chronic phase of their personality structure, and men and women, even if they want to, they can't. They're no longer able to, for the most part, with some exceptions, to form relationships anymore. And the danger is, if this birth rate falls too low, we will have a second crisis, because 20 years from now, there won't be enough people who are well balanced, educated, and able to be productive to avoid this serious crunch in this country and the other countries. It's like the population will still be here, but it's not just, that's not the only thing. It needs to be productive people who are able to solve problems, because all kinds of issues are about to come forward as mankind makes this shift. It's something that has to happen, but at the same time, there's going to be some challenges for people as they go from this mentality of just dealing with myself, me, and forcing upon them this consciousness of we, and people are going to resist, and people need to be helping them. But as I said, if you don't have enough of those people who can render this assistance, the pain is going to become very, very severe. I'm not that concerned about the deep state, because they're in a situation that they cannot win. I'm not concerned about the oligarchs and Trump and those people. They cannot win. All they can do is make the transition more painful for us. People really need to heed this warning, and they really need to guard themselves, because in all of these struggles between the deep state and the oligarchs, between Russia, China, and America, all of these things, guess who is going to suffer? You. And you need to be prepared for that. And the best way for you to prepare is not just to have 30 days worth of food around, and to have, you know, $10,000, $15,000 in cash, not in the bank, because a lot of the money that's in the banks is going to be dicey depending on which bank it is, which ones they hit. You're going to need that. But the most important thing is to let go of this resistance that people have to growing up, to be maturing, to developing. We individually need, most strenuously, to embrace these people who have come forward. There are so many of them who are basically preaching and telling people, pay attention to your higher consciousness, your meditations, to your life regimens, to all of these people that are showing you better ways to eat, better ways to handle your money, better ways to look at other human beings, better ways to work with people, better ways to be we and not just I. I'm going to stop there, that, and see if there's comments or reaction before I continue.
Oh yeah. Well, appreciate what you shared, uh, brother Logi. This sounds a lot like what you were talking about, and in the various gatherings, man.
Well, as we know, although all our audience may not know, those beings that's really in charge of the planet, who's watching us to grow, or looking for us to become ascended, looking for us to embrace love and light, to make this a planet of light, which is going to be. We're moving into the golden age. We've already made that move. It's just it's now the clearing out of this wickedness. And this was a book I was telling you about from, the 60s. It's an old book. They dropped it. They said if they try to make World War III,
Show that book again.
Secret of the Andes. This is an old book. It came out in 1960.
And what's the author's name?
Brother Phillips.
Brother Philip.
He's
Okay.
a monk. And Katumi, Amoya, the other ascended masters, they say, look, we're giving you a chance to change your wicked ways. If you start World War III, we're going to unleash all of nature on you. What I think we are seeing now is not that exact unleashing. I think it's the sinister forces that are using HARP and their technology to create these unnatural natural catastrophes. Like once a hurricane hits land, the eye of that hurricane don't just go on and on and on and on and on like it did in South Carolina and North Carolina. It dissipates. It's like it hits land and it does its work, but it don't go on and on and on and on. And they had they've already decided they're gonna make that part of the country what do they call it, a smart city, like they did in Hawaii, how they took that out. So what we're looking at is a plan that's going we're looking at a plan and they're telling us point blank. And Kamala said it over and over again. Same thing, Joe Biden, which is why I don't mind watching some of these YouTube newsreels. Well, you get Joe Biden because they have to tell you everything. My cabinet is going to see to it that we're going to increase the number of natural catastrophes. We got him on tape saying that. And then Kamala, she's constantly saying when we got to reduce the population. Like I was telling you before, me and my wife was driving out here in Georgia, and we saw these fields and fields of plastic coffins. They did not build those coffins for no reason. They took down the Georgia Stones, which was saying we're going to take out humanity. And as we know, the galactic law is you got to tell them what you're going to do so they have a chance to counteract it or prepare for it or understand this is what we got going on. If the people do nothing, it's fair game. So we're being told. We're looking at the people who was coming up with innovative technologies and things to help the people, and we're watching the sinister forces, what I call the satanic Illuminati, but without a doubt, it's satanic. Kill them. Oh, right, you can't say. Take their life away. I don't like this unalive thing. It just sounds stupid to me.
Well, listen, this is YouTube rules, brother. So you got to follow the rules. Otherwise, we can't even get a message across.
Okay.
They'll whack us.
Now, here's the other thing about YouTube. How did they get to supersede our constitutional rights?
That's a conversation for another day.
Okay. All right. So
now I want to interject. I have a different angle, Master Yao, Babalaji. I think and I like to acknowledge a good friend of mine, a neighbor. Her name is Chioma. And her take on it was these solar flares are almost activating our so-called junk DNA. And if that be the case, our collective consciousness is creating and amplifying nature's destructive side because we don't have mental muscle to be in alignment with nature herself. So we're acting like immature children with superpowers that hating to love and loving to hate. And nature is responding to the gods and the goddesses that are drunken in their delusional state. And that's what I believe is stronger than harp. I believe it's collective consciousness of people being so cross-eyed, as you say, Laji, condemnation, criticism, and the need to be right in all kinds of conversations, and that vibration ripples into the trees, the Georgia pines, into the crystals of Stone Mountain and the crystal uh, crust of the earth, amplifying. And nature, being the planet has a consciousness, is let me get rid of these fleas off my back. That's my take on it. Yeah, they might have a little fun with harp. They might have a little fun with weather control, but the population collective consciousness, they will never say your collective consciousness is stronger than our technology. And you got to start acting right so nature will be right as a reflection. Because a crystal amplifies, for better or worse, your thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. So collective consciousness. Oh, these perpetual wars. That's with the solar flares. That is going to literally instigate Mother Nature to say, "Let me get rid of this inferior species that's out of harmony with the pulse and the rhythm of life."
And I can't argue with that.
I'm not going to argue.
Anyone in the comments? We got a packed house. Anything you want to share or questions? Feel free to mark it down in the comments section, because we really have to control our thoughts. The food, genetic mutation of plastics to create unnatural hormones, and I heard that's heavy in Georgia, Master Yao. What have they done to the water? I want you to touch on the water, brother.
It's so sad because you really need water to help you make these types of transitions. And at the time when people need their natural resources the most, they have just done unspeakable things to water, to the earth, to the fertility of the farms, to the air, and all the elementals suffer. I mean, it's hard. I spend about half as much money on water as I do on food now. Trying to get water that I can drink. So let me just drop something with you. The water that we're drinking now it doesn't have a lot of life in it. So water has to have two things. One is chemical, one is spiritual. So the chemical part of it is the water has to be able to get into your blood and allow you to keep your blood and the inside of the cells slightly alkaline, right? So to do that, it has to have what we call electrical potential, and it needs to be above 100 negative electrical potential so that it can neutralize free radicals so that the process of metabolism and cell, whatever, can go forward. And most of the water that's being sold is in the sixes, between 6 and 6.9. The body, if it gets too low in the alkalinity and the electrolytes, it cannot metabolize things properly at the cell level, so that you have to have this physical thing that's happening to water, and it's not there. And they've intentionally created this situation with the pollution. The second side of that is the spiritual side. So you have something called the water elementals. So elementals are things that manipulate energy. And so when you fall over waterfalls, if you fall out of the sky, if you're flowing across rivers, it naturally creates the situation where it draws the elementals into the water. These elementals are the most important property of water, not the water itself. So you have this chemical side of the water, it's important, but even more important is that these elementals get entrained in the water, and then they interact with your body and give you the power to heal and do things that involve life. The reproductive system of men and women, its key components are water based. The eggs of the woman are basically water with genetic material inside of it, inside of little sacs. Sperm and all these things is water empowered with sunlight, the active ingredient in sunlight. That's what sperm is. And the water is a very important part of that. Not the chemical part, the spiritual part, the water elementals. And naturally, when the water flows across the earth and is active and is moving, it entrains these elementals and it doesn't work. We are suffering a lot of our physical problems and dietary problems and health issues because the water stays in pipes and it goes straight. And it's not supposed to do that. Water is supposed to move in a spiral, all kinds of different ways. It's not supposed to go into, into containers and into tanks and into these things where we're trying to purify it and you can't. We put all these pollutants in the water that we cannot get out. We are sending it through what they call purification processes, but the pollutants are too small at the microscopic level, parts per million. And these systems that man has built cannot get it out. So you got this, what I call partially dead water. And I'm not sure how we can fix it. I mean, it can easily be fixed if we stopped doing all the stuff that we're doing, but there's major changes that have to come. Plus, they're buying up water rights. And they're doing things with the water where, they say, well, we can't get water from the surface, so let's get it from underneath the ground. And so they've taken all of this water out of the ground to do crops and for people to drink. But that's not where we're supposed to be getting our water from. So we've mismanaged it. And as a consequence of that, we basically are having a water shortage. You shouldn't have to buy water, but we have a water shortage. And then we have a shortage of water where the water is not fit to drink. But I'm going to again stop and turn it back over to Hank. So I don't want to go on and on and on. But yes, people are under attack in so many ways right now. You're trying to be healthy, you're trying to get your stuff together and go on these diets. There's all this confusing information out here. But now people have to try their hardest, in spite of all the difficulty, to become their highest and best self. And try to persevere. Try to let go of all of the misinformation that's been passed on to people in the past and understand that there is a higher consciousness. And you have access to it. There's a part inside of you, in your heart of hearts, that tells you when stuff is wrong and when stuff is right. This is an important time for us to embrace what is right, what we know in our hearts is right, and to push that forward now without hesitation.
I want to share when you mentioned about the quality of water, family. I have this unit, Master Yao, in my kitchen. I put the water from the faucet through 5-stage reverse osmosis. And then I put the unit, the water is stored in tanks that then go to a pot that heats and cools the water hundreds of times. And similar to when you go to a sauna, You go into the sauna, then you go into the cold pool, and whatever you do, heating and cooling, family, not only does it activate the hydrogen for regenerating of the cells, but there's also electricity that's activated from the heating and cooling. And this little device, they have it at this website, johnellis.com, for the purpose of heating and cooling the water. So when you drink it, it's easily absorbed on the cellular level. And it has the unit comes with what is it, 2 UV lights to purify. And then what I do further after that is I put it through a zero filter. And Master Yao, it seems like there's something about a carbon filter that activates some form of energy in the water where I can actually taste, even though the parts per million meter is 0, I can taste a quality of the water after it's gone through the heating and cooling and gone through a carbon filter. So we have to activate and become more innovative in taking uh, responsibility for the quality of water that we drink. And just yesterday, we had a show with a young genius, a brother who had created a product that is edible orgone. And that he said it activates the so-called junk DNA, which is really God DNA. So imagine if we take the Y power and then we mix it with the water that's been heated and cooled, whether you use this machine or you use your stainless steel pot on your stove to heat the water, then put it in the sink with cold water for 15 to 30 seconds and repeat the process 3, 6, or 9 times. That will help stimulate your kundalini. I'm just calling it the decalcification of our chakras, our pineal gland, because fluoride is in toothpaste for a reason, and it's not to save your teeth from cavities. It's to suppress that divine DNA activation. So sometimes, when I have family or friends come by and stay overnight, and I see, you know, uh, I see products that have fluoride right on the right. It's almost like proud. Yeah, we got fluoride in here, and that impacts the higher cultivation of our endocrine system. Logi, what you got to say?
Fluoride is rat poison, and it's calculated to keep us asleep. Hitler put that in the water to put the people in Germany asleep while he was working his plan. So much of what we are getting now is something in all our food, our water, our air, because the chemtrails that they're spraying, and then worst of all, concepts, to say the least, of the medical system, but these poisonous concepts that are used to, instead of saying infanticide, I don't know, can we say infanticide? Can we say that?
You already said it. It's cool.
Oh, okay. Shit, I don't know. We'll say abortion, right? We can't even talk truth now. So they're hiding even the truth. So they got us in such a way that if we don't stop it, we're completely finished. If we don't stand up and then say, no, no more. So when it comes down to a certain thing that we indulge in, go somewhere else and indulge. If somebody's going to take our freedom of speech away, go somewhere else where they're not doing it. Because once somebody goes, and somebody else goes, and somebody else goes, then their platform is completely defunct.
Listen, they're all controlled by the same force. So that's where you got to develop your telepathic faculties so that you don't need a social media family. You can literally put the magnetic pulse from your Kundalini activated heart chakra and pineal gland, and you'll have precedence because high frequency has dominion over low frequency. So when you're playing chess, you can't get frustrated. Otherwise, you catch the sucker punch. You have to have strategies. We have to remember we are divine. Psalms 82:6, ye are gods. All right. Now the present religions, the Abrahamic religions, looked to externalize your divinity. Oh, it's outside of me, somewhere over the ocean, somewhere over the sea, somewhere over the rainbow, because it can't be inside of me. So that solar activity is saying you better wake up and realize you are what you seek outside of yourself. Like in the movie Return of Leroy, what was his name when he was getting his butt whipped by Master Shownuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it?
Who's the master?
Yeah, yeah. What was
And
it?
then he finally had an awakening and said, "I am," and that's when the
Bruce
power
Leroy.
came through.
Bruce Leroy.
Bruce Leroy. Yeah, yeah, they could have definitely did a follow up on that one
Easily.
but that's
Maybe
another
we got to
story.
go back to the soapbox. You know, they worked, but in the 70s, they worked in the 60s. Just get up on the soapbox and start telling the truth.
But how many people you know that activated their kundalini by seminal retention, men, so that the energy can rise up their spine and super hyper activate their heart chakra and their pineal gland? Which yogi does that, teaching their followers to levitate, fly through the air, teleport? You don't have to worry about TSA if you teleport, but you got to get past. We got to get past being a tender DICK, and that's where Master Yao teaches you. And I've been telling the brothers, you got to stop, as Robert Beck said in the book Pimp: Story of My Life. You got to put your D in your pocket and can't be tender, because that's your fuel system. So we can't sit in a chicken farm and be in a pigsty because we can't control our squirt and say, why is everybody always picking on me? You put yourself there. You crashed and burned with your divinity.
We can't argue that.
Go ahead, Master Yao.
I
Tell us
would
about your
say
program.
that there are plenty of people we could blame, and they are demonic. But you know, our leadership should be assisting us. They're not going to save you. And people, individual people, have to understand they have to save themselves. And the key to them being able to overcome the many, you know, problems that are being thrown at us today is frequency. You know, that is the key. If you cannot get your water into a drinkable state, the one solution that always works is frequency. Um, if you are having issues with people who just want to argue and hate and do this, that, and the other, if you get your frequency up, if you raise your frequency sufficiently, you will repel those people. They just don't want to be around you anymore. And so you get a situation where you start attracting to you the people that you can get along with better. With relationships, the same thing. Once you get yourself in the best healthy state that you can, that you're capable of, go back and work on your frequency, your vibration. Now, the two things are different. Vibration is one thing, frequency is another. But you can tell, with just a minimal of research, when your frequency is going down. And so the first thing that will tell you is emotionally you're unstable. If you have a situation of conflict and you become emotionally unstable, you start reacting to everything emotionally, your frequency is low. When you can encounter conflict where people are against you, where the situation is against you, the resources are against you, the banking system is against you, the way that you can get what that's possible to get positive out of that situation is by broadcasting a particular frequency that's above that. And that will do the most work to bring it about a situation where you can prevail. Frequency is everything. Frequency is everything. And we need today to really focus on these people, because people are talking about the specifics of how do you deal with the conflicts that are daily that we're beset on. Meditation will help you, no doubt about it. And these other practices, if your body is healthy and your cells are healthy, that will help you a lot. But in the end, if these things fail you, turn to frequency, raising your frequency. Stop being around people with low frequencies. Music. I ride down the street and I am appalled at the music. The frequency of the music is negative. I would say 60, 70% of what I hear, I don't want to hear. People, when they're talking, the way that they're talking, they're focusing on so much negativity. They don't like so much. They're disappointed about so much. When you're in that emotional space, your frequency is low. Your frequency is down. Raise it up immediately, because then you're inviting and attracting negative outcomes. With Tantra, you know, it's one of the disciplines that we teach at Grand Trine. And Tantra is very popular with people because it helps you become a sexual powerhouse. But part of why we even teach it, because there is, there is a lot of people who feel that at the level that we're teaching Tantra, we shouldn't even be teaching Tantra because it's too powerful for them. And they have, you can make arguments to support what they're saying. But the sexual power, when it's directed into a person who has a high enough frequency, it will empower that frequency to such an extent that a lot of the issues that you come in contact with daily can be overcome. You know, we see Tantra and we see people with sexual power. And yes, there are going to be people, men and women, who abuse that. But we must have this technology right now, this tantric technology, because when you conserve your sexual energy and employ it properly, it's going to raise your health, it's going to empower your frequency, and it's going to allow you to to survive and thrive in negative situations. And we are now entering a place, a pivot point, where we're in the center of this shift. We need our sexual energy now more than ever. We don't need to have less sex. We need to have more sex. But we cannot just waste that energy. It's solar energy. We cannot just waste. That's concentrated life force. That's we're supposed to be using it. We're supposed to be experiencing the orgasms and the pleasure and all of that stuff. But it needs to be supporting a lifestyle that's positive, that's trying to overcome the conflicts we're facing, not just something where we are just, we're trying to get into high level orgasm simply for the pleasure aspect of it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because what I'm noticing, Master Yao, as I ride around the neighborhood and run into, seniors, older Black men, there's a level of bitterness. And I really believe, and I observed it with uh, Dr. Sabi, I didn't sense bitterness when I was in proximity and talking with him, but I think there's a connection. So I'm going to just play this little piece about Chris Rock saying who's the most racist. I'm gonna put it up here. I know I might get a copyright, but I'm going to pull this up because I think there's a connection. I want to ask you: is there a connection between seminal leaking and bitterness in older age? And family, I'm gonna show this first, and then I want Master Yao to eloquently answer the question. But look at this here.
And when it comes to racism, you know who the most racist people are for real? The real most racist people? Old black men. You find a brother over 60. I know some of you white people know an old black man. You go, oh, Willie at the job, he's so nice. Willie hates your guts. Nothing more racist than an old black man. You know why? Because an old black man went through some real racism. He didn't go through that I can't get a cab shit. He was a cab. The white man just jumped on his back. Main Street.
And this is true. This is true. So I just wanted to touch on that.
I don't know where you find these clips from.
It's true. It's so true. It's true. And you know, the more I cultivate, Master Yao, my own internal circulation, the happier I am, along with my orgone beads. And I'm gonna put. But Master Yao, is there a connection between empty seminal tank and being an old bitter black man?
I think when you're 24, you feel like your sperm and your penis and your sexual robust power is going to last forever because it's powerful. A young man, black, white, or whatever, who's really healthy and he's got that testosterone and he's got that seminal fluid going, it makes you feel ultra powerful. And you know, by the time you get to be around 45 and you haven't really conserved it and you really haven't, you know, done any development work, you do become a little angry, I think.
I remember busting a nut and being pissed off afterwards.
You see these men out here and they're walking around and you can just tell that testosterone is up there. But at the other side of that, if you're in business, a lot of people in business, it's not working for them, and they're struggling financially, and the older they get, there's a lot of men, especially black men, they had a lot of issues with the women in their life not really supporting their lifestyle. That's just the fact. And they become bitter about that. You have a lot of men, you have a lot of white men who feel a certain level of entitlement because they played the game they were told to play. The referee said, this is the way you play the game. If you're a white man, and if you play the game this way, you're supposed to end up with certain benefits. And they're not all ending up with those benefits. And they become bitter. And you can see why. If you're making love to a woman, I think one of the worst things that you can do is to pee in the pond that you're drinking from. In other words, what I mean is, if you're making love to a woman, she may not be the best woman. She may not be the woman of your dreams, you know, but you need to have this attitude that she represents all women in that moment. Because you want, no matter what happens, you want her frequency to come up. And so I tell people in the classes, when you're working on people with Tantra, you have to have this mentality that man represents all men on the earth. That woman represents all women. And I have issues with them. Don't get me wrong. I have some issues with them because they do some stuff that's like, are you serious? Really? Right now? And I see a lot of men and I've got issues with them because they're just out for the pee. Their self-esteem is defined by pee. And I'm like, that is not a man. That's not a real man. If your self-esteem is defined by something with women, no. I think guys are bitter when they get older because they know that they didn't do something right, whether it's financially or this or that or the other. They feel like part of their life was wasted and they want it back. You can't get it back.
Mm.
At least I did in the last 30 years to teach young black men and young black women a better way. I'm not saying that everything that I know is absolutely right. I don't make that claim. I do the best that I can, but I've tried to kind of whatever I felt was helpful, I passed it on to the next generation. And there are people who ignored good advice and made poor decisions, and they're bitter now. I
Mm.
we should take that into the bedroom under no circumstances. If you get to that point where you've made the decision to have sex with that man or that woman, do the best you can to keep your frequency up as high as you possibly can. At any time during the week where it's important, if there is a time in the week where it's important to keep your frequency up, it's when you're at those points where you're communing with the overlord, the if you want to call it God or the master frequency, whatever you want to call that thing. And the second most important time is when you're having sex.
Mm.
You know, you should keep your frequency up as high as possible because you're not always going to be with the ideal woman. You're not always going to be with the ideal man because they're few and far between these days. But I can tell you with assurance that better times are coming. Don't know if they're going to flood the earth while I'm still alive. I don't know that. Maybe, but I can tell you, higher consciousness is going to be such a benefit. It's going to be such a godsend that it's worth the sacrifice we need to make now. We're not going to be in this situation forever. I know that men, basically, a lot of them have just completely lost faith in women, and I'm not blaming them. You know, before you get married today, you, you know, you need to do about 10 years worth of work first, or don't even try it. You can't, it's not going to work for you. But it's not going to always be this way. We don't want to ruin people. We don't want to ruin this generation of women in South America, in Russia, in the US. We don't want to ruin them because then it's going to be very hard when higher consciousness slowly comes. But the next generation of women, the ones who are young now, to really embrace that. The men are the doers, the executors. And if higher consciousness is going to come fast or slow, it's up to the men. And if you're saying you're playing all these games and making it very difficult for men to be men, you're hurting yourself.
Very well said.
When you say ruin the women, what do you mean?
So if, you know, I used to hang out with the players, you know, when I was much younger. I was never a player myself, but I used to hang out with them because, you know, I'm attracted to attractive women, and that's where the attractive women typically are. But, you know, if you want that coochie, you really want that, and she's being difficult, a lot of the men, they will resort to the game. They will scheme. They will lie. They will do all of this stuff because they just want that experience. The problem with it is she's going to be upset and whatever. She's going to be mad. She's going to be this, that, and the other. And now the quality of her frequency and her her sexual excuse me, her sexual persona, her signature goes down no matter what man gets with her next. And over the years, I think the quality of women and their femininity has gone down slowly. Now, feminism and men and all this has something to do with that. But men have something to do with that too. And I'm just like saying, basically what you're doing, if you're allowing this femininity energy of women to gradually go down, you're peeing in the pond that you drink from.
Mm.
And so even if you're not the man that benefits from that, you don't want to pee in the pond that you are going to drink from. We need to be trying, whatever way that we can, to raise the frequency of women in terms of their feminine energy up. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that it's easy. And then, because men are the doers, women need to understand at the end of the day, men are the ones who are the main doers in society. I know women think that they're this, that, and the other, but they are not the primary doers in society. And the doers they're front and center. When you're just living a regular life, women are the primary vessels. If everything is good, the society really revolves around women. When you're in a situation of crisis, or you're in a situation like now, or you're in a situation where the family's under attack or the family's under financial stress, it's the man who steps up, and now everything circles around the men. And if they don't have the power, they don't have the confidence, they don't have the charisma to take charge of that situation and engage it, you see what we see today. Millions of men check out, disconnect, they're not engaged. The reason that the deep state feels like it can make its move now is because men are so disengaged. Men are they're not in the workforce like they used to be. Their sexual fertility is not what it used to be. Their drive is not what it used to be. And they just don't want to be involved in stuff. They don't go to events like they used to. I mean, it's like I get these stories like one or two a year of young men who go over to a girl's house and she's thinking that they're on a date, and he ends up playing video games at her place. And she's got the short dress on, you know, looking a certain way. And I'm like, and a lot of men now, they're not going there. They're just not even, they're not taking the chance. They don't want the rejection, or they're not confident on their abilities or their performance and whatever. And they're not even giving out that masculine aggressive vibe. They're just not. How do you expect to change things with men like this? And this is certainly the fault of women. Most of the erectile dysfunction is the fault of women not being feminine. So, I mean, when you look at people and you look at men, you know, I'm like, okay, where are you when you come down to these subjects and these topics as a man? I mean, the condition of society is really your purview. When we see the banks doing what they're doing, government basically doing nothing but wasted money, when we see businesses, they don't even care about customer service anymore. When you see the price of housing so that people can't live in a house, that's the job of men to engage, and at least let's fight. Maybe there's little chance of us winning, but at least let's bring this up. The brother was saying that you can't even speak the truth anymore. Men should be engaging that issue right now. Where are the men They're not engaging that issue because the women are not empowering them like that. And I'm not just talking about America. This is happening around the world. You've got all these authoritarian regimes because the men in that country, they're in their comfort zone, and they're not coming out. You got so many migrants crossing borders because they have not dealt with the situation in their country. And what they do, they just run. If the men in these countries stood up and dealt with some of these issues, people wouldn't want to leave. You got one brother in El Salvador who's standing up to gangs and this, what's being put on them from countries
That's
outside of
right.
El Salvador. You got one person standing up to this assault on the population. The rest of them, they're taking the bribes and they're like, you deal with the problem now. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
Definitely right. But then now consider this. Look at Kevin Samuels. Look at Alex. What is the brother that they just lied on him, arrest him for trafficking? What's his name? Alex. It's not Alexander. It's Alex. He said, "Look, I look white, but I'm black. My father's black, so I'm black." He was the most famous man in the world, just a year ago, and he's
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate, and he stood up, and look what happened. So it's like there is a war on men, no doubt, as well as boys. If you stand up, then you're ostracized. So you got to figure out how you're going to stand up, especially now, because if you don't figure out, so let me put it straight away, you have to stand up. I'm doing it on YouTube right now. I wasn't good in these things, so my wife helped me do tapes, and I was talking to brothers particularly, right? I said, fellas, look, they're coming after you in every way. You need to do these things to be not only that man, but that Renaissance man. I said to him, you need to understand, well, what is the type of woman that you want? Not what you want, that you should be going after. To the sisters, what is the type of man you should be going after? They will, for example, I came back from India and I made sure I'm not dealing with no woman, because every guy I saw that was in the ashram got married, they left. And I wasn't going to leave the master because that was just my happiness. All right. So I get back, he passed away. I get back, there's this white sister who wanted to get with me. She was married, so of course that's not going to happen. And she was telling some sisters in Africa, all, Native American, African American sisters, there's a guy in the telephone booth. I was in the telephone booth. And when he comes out, let me tell you, this guy's this, he's that, beep, bop, boom. So she's souping me up. So when I get out the telephone booth, all these sisters are looking at me literally like I'm a piece of meat. It was so profound because they just looking and staring and not saying a word. And I'm like, then I look over and I saw that the girl Amba, and I said, what did Amba tell you? She said, one of the girls said, she told us that you were this and you were that and you'd be a nice guy to get with, and okay. I said, yeah, yo will like me. Now they were smiling at first, but that smile turned to an immediate frown. One of them said, why would we like you? And I said to them, because I'm going to treat you bad. That frown went to an ear-to-ear smile, like, oh my God, he is what she said. And she's over there in the background saying, I told you, I told you. So what's the implications here? If I let them know I'm going to treat them bad, they're going to love me. This is what we're dealing with too. We're dealing with a level of stupidity in our women. Now, I thought about this for a long time. Why? Where would it come from? Well, it's clear that they need to be protected more than any other thing. They need to be protected. Why? Women are getting raped from times immemorial. They've been subject to the power of men, and they want a strong man. They'll protect them. They'll go for he's bad, or he's fine and he's the bad boy, before they'll go to a good man, because they feel in their mind, in their heart, he ain't gonna go buck wild if somebody do something to me. In fact, if he is that strong and he has that reputation in the community, I'm protected with him. Even if he ain't around, somebody will tell him, do not mess with that woman. I know that we know that that's true. So with women, it's like this in their very DNA. This is whether it's in New York City or it's in Borneo. If we do not protect that woman at any given moment, whether it's the first day we meet them, whether it's years later, if we don't protect her, she is, through her own DNA, predisposed to not respect or love us anymore. This is a fact, and this is what we know. So we have to deal with these things as we create a whole new society. And I believe that society has to, at this point, begin in the womb.
Okay, well, I want to bring this up because to build on what you just said, man, this is a famous comedian, Patrice O'Neal, talking about black women. So, we're going to let him say what he think about it.
Okay.
Here's the difference. She will let you try to be a man. This is why it's hard. It's harder to deal with black women. She would let you be a man for the 5 minutes that you needed to be, like to get there. Like you go in there and get that money for that shirt, and you would go in and go, I had this shirt for 6 months and this has a rip in it, and I was wondering if I could move, nigga. You ain't doing enough. This motherfucking shirt it's only been 6 months. Give him this motherfucking money back. Okay. Black women give you 2 seconds to try to be a man, right? And then they'll go for it.
They'll take off.
And it's volatile. It's a right.
There it is. There it is. That's the truth of it. Am I wrong, Logi? Am I wrong, Master Yao?
If you treat them bad, they give you more time.
I don't know where you get these clips. Yeah, it is true, and I think that a lot of that didn't come from men. I mean, a lot of that came from their own inner society, the disrespect and whatever, and the way that they're going about it. The society right now, especially since the advent of social media, it's very hard to get, as a man, to get your message across. And you have so many women now who didn't really interact with their fathers like that, and they're not really open to communicating with men like that, that they're in a situation, in a vacuum, where they don't really know, because they haven't been talking to the men who do know. You have a situation now where the majority of women don't really know a lot of stuff because they're too prideful to listen to the men who could tell them that. My father, he told my sister a lot of good stuff that later on in life, she was like, okay, I agree with you, Dad. But when she was younger, she was like, no, that can't be true. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. But my father was my father. And so she had to do certain things. And then she found out later on, there's things that that I'm glad you told me. Right now, there's so many women that they're acting on things that, that the social media is putting out there, mainly other women. And they're not interacting with men like that. And, wow, there's so many false beliefs and so much stuff that they're doing that does not facilitate the support of men. And therefore, a lot of men have dropped out. They're just not trying anymore. I'm not saying that they're wrong or right with that regard, but it's a very dangerous situation for society to be in. Number one, where women have closed off and don't want to listen. And number two, where men just have detached. This thing is continuing at an epidemic pace, and the outcome is not going to be good.
It's not only a continuing at an epidemic pace, it is a spontaneous movement of the passport bros. They're getting away from these women. I remember what you said, Hank, about they're getting tricked out there. But even in the videos that you had showed me to check out, Those people are getting tricked out there in these saloons in places that you ain't going to find a good woman. And the other piece of this is the men are either what you're saying, Master Yao, they're just out. I don't want it. I can't deal with it anymore. And then there's women that want to be passport sisters, not realizing the men abroad, especially with a culture, don't want them. They'll have sex with them, but they got no interest in being with American women. Not only that, on the worldwide stage, men in America are rated 5 among all the countries in the world. The women in America, black, white, Chinese, no matter if you were raised here, you are rated the lowest woman in the world. On top of that, all these years of hearing this phrase, the whores of Babylon, the whores of Babylon, the whores of Babylon, I didn't get it until I realized what was going on here. The whores of Babylon would get with any old man. You got these the lowest type in Babylon, and that was part of their fall. And in ancient time, my spiritual master said, other governments would go into a country to see the quality of their women. If the women were pure, noble, and virtuous, they'd stay out of that country. If they were low, like what we got here in America right now, they'd attack with no fear of losing out and take over that government.
I want to caution us, though, that the way that it is right now is very compelling. And what we're saying is true. But I want to try to get us to also consider the future. The future is not going to be what it is today. Right now, with everything that's happening, you can shake your head and say, it's a lost cause. And I can understand men dropping out. I can understand, embracing this, that, or the other that's basically toxic and poisonous. But at some point in time, we have to move into the future. The future is going to come whether we're ready for it or not. And so a part of our mind should be set aside to sort of distance ourselves from what's happening right now when we can, to try to prepare just a little bit for how we're going to deal with things as people do start to embrace a higher consciousness. We've got to be able to react to that.
Well, we got to pull up we got to pull out the shadow work, and I'm gonna pull up what this brother here says about the relationship dynamics here in America right now, and it's real. This is real. We got to deal with the shadow work. Here it is. Let me share it. Crank it up.
And a man has to be able to correct, because his job is to establish law and order in the household. So most real men aren't liked. I'm gonna say it again. Most real men with real traits and characteristics aren't liked. He gonna say, baby, take that off. You're not finna go outside with your titties showing like that. I mean, you got your ass out like that. Man, put some panties on, your pussy pretty showing. That's a real man established law and order.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all sit down somewhere. Nigga, a real man ain't liked. He's missed and appreciated after he's gone. But while he's here, he ain't liked, nigga. He's tolerated. That's why they don't tell you daddy. They keep shit from daddy. That's why daddy get a tie. That's why daddy get kicked in the ass. The woman problem is no one can correct her. And a man has to be able to correct, because his job is to establish law and order.
100%. That's considered toxic masculinity right there.
You got you scratching your head, Master Yao. It's the truth. It's the truth. And women hate law and order.
They hate men that want to be men. And they got this misandritic propaganda going, especially over America. You could be the best man out there doing the most wonderful thing of raising your kids, raising them pure, raising them being virgins, and so forth and so on. And then you got this society putting you down on every level to be hated, no matter how good a parent you are. How good a parent you are. That was my direct experience. Because I know, because I didn't come from a family that I was happy about as far as being raised. And so I said, I'm going to do much better than my father was able to do or my mother did do. And I mean, I know I raised my kids. I know I'm a lot of things, but a bad dad was not one of them. I would lay down the law. I let them know, look, no, how the hell are you going to be going out looking like a whore? Let me take you over here to this street. So, and you walk down the block where the whores are and see how they deal with you. This we can't do. Not only that, I let them know real clearly that person is not going to be your friend. I can see who they are, and they ain't going to come in and ruin this family. So I don't want to see you with them.
The issue, though, is that men need to be men, but there's very few men that can teach them the real trick of doing that. Because it's like you say, in my father's time, he was feared because he would slap the fuck out of you. I mean, you know, but everybody agrees now that it was more important than what my mother did. My mother nurtured us. She cooked for us. And she did a tiny little bit of discipline. But my father directed us through life with a stern hand. And that's the only way you can raise a family.
I got it. You're making
But
stuff.
let me just finish my.
Go ahead.
Damn it, because the next thing that I'm trying to say is we also need this at the national level, because the tribe doesn't support these men. The tribe is our nation, and our nation does not support these men. That's why I'm saying to change the tribe, we have to change this this I mentality into a we mentality. We had men like that. And the reason that we don't have them anymore is because the tribe doesn't cultivate that. The tribe is working against that. And then you've got the whole feminist movement completely seeking to destroy culture and civilization. I mean, that's what they're basically doing. They're completely destroying the family. It doesn't matter. That's what we have to deal with. That's what we got to work with. And therefore, we got to be talking to men about their plan in terms of working with all of this. That's what's here. What you're saying is absolutely true. It's a S show. It's a crap show. That's what we got to work with, and we've got to hold the line until this new consciousness gets here, because it's not going to get better for the next couple of years. And maybe some natural disasters, some volcanoes and some earthquakes, and maybe some of that stuff is necessary, because then the society will turn back to men, because that's the only place they're going to be able to turn to real men to come in and try to save it or try to do something. I imagine that the quality of men in these places where Hurricane Helene went, where nobody's coming to save you except the men that's already there. Somebody's got to cut the trees off the road, and somebody's got to get the chainsaw out, oil it up, and get out there and work. Somebody's got to build. Somebody's got to restore. And maybe the women in those areas have learned to appreciate men a little bit more. I don't know. I haven't really asked. But maybe we need some before women will really wake up and understand the mistake that they've been making and start to support those type of what they call toxic men. Because when you get to the point where we're heading right now, where people are I mean, heaven forbid that you're in a country like Ukraine, or you're in a country like Venezuela, or you're in a country like Tanzania or one of these northern African countries where everybody's trying to get out of there because they're starving to death, the only people that can possibly help you then are men.
You know, I was mentioning to you before, Hank stopped me. I was doing a podcast. I had done 3-minute podcasts. I did 8 of them. And I was driving my car. I didn't know what I'm doing. And I was just talking to the brothers. And, you know, I was telling them about being a man. You know, find your money in your SSKV account. Learn languages. Start traveling. Don't tolerate these women out here. At the same time, do not go and devastate good women. Don't go out and just go and bump, get it with good women. There's plenty of institutions. Matter of fact, the oldest institution in the world is a good place to go to do that. Not with somebody who raised his daughter, you know, nobly, and then you're going to go in there, break a heart, this, that, and the other. There's places where you can go to just bump, get it. I was speaking to them like men. Now, this was my 9th podcast. That's only 3 minutes long. I thought something, and I don't know, I'm not good at the technology. Hank can tell you right now. Yeah, we ain't even gonna go into that. I'm getting better. I got 84, or was it 86,000? No, 84,600 people that contacted me, gave me likes. 84,600 in less than 24 hours. I didn't even know how to read it. I didn't know what it was. My wife knew how to read it. She was like, "Is there something wrong with your phone?" 86,000. They was like, yeah, they started naming me OG. I want to get with that, you know, like that. OG, I want to get with that. 86,000. That was a fifth of not no 15 minutes. That was like 3 minutes. Could have been maybe 4. I don't think it was 4, 3. And they were the brothers, especially young brothers, want to hear how to go. And then what's going to end up happening? You're going to end up like Andrew Tate. I believe they took out Kevin Samuels the same way they took out Sam Cooke. And nobody said nothing. Nobody did any investigation. So if we do that in order to live, just like our brother E.T., you know, got to call him code name because he done created a product that can do all kind of magic. He can't even be out seen, and he knows. And his own colleagues come up with a cure for cancer, this, that, and the other, and they get unalived, all right, taken out. So whatever we do, we have great examples. We got Elijah. We got Booker T. Booker T was very smart. We got others, right? But there was one we not following who I feel was the most smartest, the most intelligent, the slickest for the time that he was coming up in. Most people don't know who he is. Have anybody on this panel ever heard of Jake Simmons? Anybody?
No.
He's the richest black man in the world. He's not alive. His kids was in Kennedy cabinet. His father, well, they knew that they was Native Americans, okay, and they looked like us. And when they sent us on the Trail of Tears out to Oklahoma, they was giving that to blacks and Indians, and we were all there were no blacks. It was just Indians, and that was us that they call black or African. And he was the richest man. He had all of the black people that had land out there. There was oil all there and gold all there. Man, we was thriving in such a way it's unimaginable. So the white people was jealous. So they, you know, complained and just all kind of havoc. So the politicians say, "Well, you can become a Native American. Just give me this $5." That's how we got our $5 Indians. So they could get the land and take it from us. And Greenwood, Oklahoma is a perfect example of that. Same thing with Hayti. You know, Hayti was bigger than Greenwood, Oklahoma. And they had alliances, and they were doing magic out there. They were getting with Jews because they hated the Jews too. So they would get, because they had so much money, the Native Americans, which we think we African Americans, was lending money to the Jews so they could do something because of their complexion. They could go do down south what we couldn't do. And some of those alliances and businesses are still existing today. This is what needs to be done, but it has to be done in secret. Because if it's not, they will come after us. And we have to understand that fact. We got to come after us. Just look at what our brother ET is doing, Hank. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Don't be out there. Don't be out there. Same thing like Joe Kennedy. He wasn't out there like that. But every single mafia family paid him to be in business. And he got his own sons into the White House and then created an elite. Now we're talking about a gangster who created an elite, noble family. And this is what a king is anyway. They're gangsters who legalize their activities.
You know, you're bringing up some strong points, Brother Laji. Salutations. And thank you, Master Yao. There's something I heard, and it rings in my head about positions of power. Poor folks or people who don't know, they send their children to colleges to become a doctor or a lawyer. Those who are really in positions of power send their kids to learn finance.
There's a lot of criminals that have become legit by following that advice, Hank. And there's a lot of brothers that, I don't condone the start. They got into drugs or some other kind of illegal activity, numbers back before the lottery and all that kind of stuff. And then they became legit after that. They started legitimate businesses, and that's what they did. They tried to send their sons to learn finance so that they could manage it and keep it going. Because half of the corporations that started in the first half of the 20th century, from World War I till we get into the 60s and 70s, a lot of those dynasties were started by criminals.
Of course.
I'm talking about the white ones or the black ones.
Yeah.
They were started by criminal activity because the government made it illegal to do whatever it is that they were doing. They didn't care. And then they sent their kids, their sons, to learn finance to try to make it legitimate and keep it moving. And some of them did.
Many. Jake Simmons trained his sons to handle the oil business. Took them to the Middle East because he had the reputation, and they would rather deal with him than deal with white people. Whenever he had a contract with any of the big oil companies here, because he had more money than everybody was out there, more money. His book is called Stake and a Claim. Well worth reading. Well worth reading because he started.
Say the name of the book so I can put it in.
Staking a Claim. You want me to put it up in the chat? Is the chat here?
Yeah, if you got the book, yeah, Staking the Claim.
I definitely got it here. I'd like to see where it's at. It's in one of my bookcases back there. You want me to go get it? It is. Oh man, this is.
Yeah. If you can, go ahead, pull it up. I didn't know it was going to go in this direction, Master Yao. But
when you played those clips, you knew the direction it was going in. So stop acting innocent.
I got another one lined up. We're gonna do this right now. I'll wait till Logic come back. This is another truth that hasn't been told. I'll wait for Logic to come back. Family, look at Logic's Egyptian temple. Look at this. This is how he lives all the time. Sacred geometry.
Impressive.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play this one. This one here. This is another Charlton White because he's telling the truth. And I gotta pull it up. Share screen. Here it is right here. Listen to this.
That you're willing to lie to protect their feelings. You can't be honest to your woman, nigga.
What? That's not.
If you want peace, you gotta learn to lie in order to maintain peace and to protect her feelings. You can't be honest. So the things that they tell us to do and the things that they tell us to work really don't work. Being honest don't work, homie. Nobody is honest all the time. Everybody has an agenda, even with their honesty.
Even with the honesty. Huh.
Come on, my nigga.
That's the cold. That's the cold hard truth.
Homie, you have to be in a relationship with a person that you're willing to lie to protect their feelings. You can't be honest to your woman, nigga.
All right, that's truth.
No lies. No lies.
Papa never taught me about days like this.
My dad, he put me on game with that. You know, he's like,
Staking the claim, the Jake
Staking a claim. Staking a claim.
Staking.
I've never even, I didn't even know that book existed.
They don't want you to know. And bust it. This was done by a Jewish guy, Jonathan Greenberg. He's the one. There was a white guy who wanted to borrow some money, and he told me, he said, "Why don't you go up to Jake Simmons?" And he's like, "That Negro, he got more money than everybody on this hill."
What's the name of who wrote the book, Laji?
Jonathan Greenberg.
A Jew wrote the book.
Yeah. He was friends with Jake. They had a bunch of friends. Busted. The Jews was getting slammed out there too. As soon as they found that they was Jewish, they was doing them as bad as they was doing us because they had more to do to them. So they was crushing the Jews. Jews are suffering. So they was like, yo, we don't hate y'all Negroes. We don't. We're in the same bag as y'all. Why don't we get together? Y'all got money. We got complexion. Let's set up some stuff. And that's what they did. And in this book, Black Wall Street, that book is called Black Wall Street. They telling you about those stories where Cherry and a number of these brothers, they got with the Jews, and some of these alliances exist even today. And I mean, they were all classy.
We got a woman that don't want to deal with, or somebody, Rising Realms. I don't know if it's male or female. I want y'all to address this prophecy warning. And prophecy warning deals with relationships, to all my relations. Now, if this person said this prophecy warning turned into a woman bashing show. Okay, that's a person's response. This is a follow-up.
A woman bashing.
Yeah, they said, now look at the response. Bitter truth versus sweet lies. Okay, this is what Rising Realm said. Okay. Then the follow-up says no one is bashing women.
Right.
And then somebody says Simpson. I don't know what that means.
But this is the same thing that the media does. Is it demonizes the ones that's not saying what they wanted to say.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that looks like, what that comment right there looks like. You know, if you know, because the people who really have the job of ushering in higher consciousness, like the man said, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and they're gonna come at you. When people accuse slave owners of the crimes that they were committing and told them that it was wrong, if they were in the South, they killed them or put them in jail. And if they were in the North, they demonized them when they could. So why would we expect that they should do anything different now? I can tell where many of my enemies are because they're the first ones commenting comments like that. Make it seem like you're a demon when they're the demon. Typically, when I see those comments, I mark those ones first, and then I know where my demon enemies are, the ones who don't want me to tell the truth. The first thing I say is, well, he's bashing this, that, and the other. Ain't nobody said a bashing thing the whole night.
Interesting. Logic, what you got to say about that?
I was given a course on divine conception in my classes. The professors knew me because I was in the City College study group with Dr. Ben, Leonard Jeffries, James Smalls, all of these high-powered people, right? They knew me, the black professors. But I was talking to these Latino girls, and I was telling them what I was about to talk about. Because at the end of the class, you give the whole class, you the teacher, right? And these professors that I mentioned would allow me to teach their classes, right? Because they knew the people in the study group, they was reading a book a day. I never read a book a day. I only was able to read, because I had the kids and everything, like 1,200 pages a week. But I said to these sisters, when I was going to give this class, before I started my presentation, I said, I want y'all to watch something. Y'all coming from Latin America. Y'all are open to getting real men and not, the type of men, right? But watch who comes and says something. It's going to be a black woman that's going to stand up and speak against what I'm saying. I said, I want y'all, I was talking to 3 of them. I want y'all to just watch it and see what happens. And they were. So I got to, at the end of the presentation, which was, I had charts and everything. And I'm breaking it down on a cellular level, right? In the end, this one sister says, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to just keep doing my bumping and grinding. And I said to the 3 sisters that I warned ahead of time, I said, do y'all see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? And it was super powerful presentation, because what I was talking about is how you create a child that is Christ-like. Christ wasn't an accident. That didn't happen by accident. It was a plan by his grandparents, right? And so, the first thing she wanted to do is spit on it. Now, why is that? She's been trained to do it, but I blasted her. As soon as she came under my mouth. First, I told her sister that this is what they're going to do, and I blasted her. And I said to her, not only are you being a gutter snipe, but your children will come to you, because now you know this knowledge. You are responsible for what I just said here in this class. You are responsible. The kids that will come to you know you've been taught. And if you don't use that knowledge, you are definitely guilty. And what is the knowledge? The knowledge of the conception.
Powerful. Powerful.
I think this is what we got when we got to do it in hiding or away.
And that's why the brother family whose product, Master Yao, it's a time arresting product that also heals on a cellular level with a product that's edible orgone. And when you eat it, family, you can feel the orgone energy or the chi, but you got to drink plenty of water, because it speeds up the chakras in the cells. And he said, I can't show my face because cognitive dissonance is an epidemic. And that's why just like Charleston White said, truth is hated in a society full of lies.
Vehemently.
Hated until earthquakes collapse the structures and natural forces destroy the society that men built. Hated for telling the truth.
All of these people connected to the deep state and who support it, all of these oligarchs, all of these evil politicians, they cannot stop what is happening. And this is what angers them so much, that with all of their supposed power, they have no power. They're the people under them, the weak people, especially the women, because of the makeup that they have. They're going to follow those people. You look at how many people follow the Jeffrey Epsteins. You look at how many people follow the Diddy's compared to the people that follow the brothers like you're talking about, that's actually creating products that can save us. Look at the difference. Look at the difference.
Yep.
They're going to want to do it. They're going to.
and Master Yao, what he shared with me, Laji, this wasn't even a particular incident. It wasn't who bashed him was an Oriental because the brother broke his belief system, the Asians' belief system that blacks are inferior, and he personally saved the Chinese person
It's
and
Jack.
the or Japanese, whatever, and the Japanese man got mad because it was a black man that saved him, where the white established doctors couldn't. So there isn't any focus on women. We're talking about while solar flares are going up, monkey minds have to go down.
And the bad thing about this, the guy's
monkey
daughter
minds.
had a brain tumor now. Had a brain tumor. And you're going to get mad at the guy? I wouldn't care if it was a Draco that did it, you know, or Naga. Snakes and these demons. They heal your child. Somebody healing your baby. That's a big child. This is like 9 or 12 years old or younger. And he's healing her. He had to stop doing the work because the guy was so ridiculous. The more he healed his daughter, the guy got angrier and angrier. This Japanese guy.
2016, I started a program to cure fibroids, and we were removing fibroids left and right. White people didn't try to shut me down. Black men didn't try to shut me down. Black women shut me down. Even though all the women in the program promoted it and said, wow, this is the best thing. This saved my life, blah, 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 blah. In spite of all the testimonials. And it was black women that tried to, they shut the program down.
Why?
You have to ask them. But I'm just saying, whenever you hear people talking about toxic masculinity and stuff like that, I immediately know there's a demonic seed behind that.
Yeah.
I mean, I immediately know. You don't have to even, you look right for that person that's telling you that. You can tell where the enemy is. So you're saying to yourself, well, so you want people to just let the fibroid thing go and get a hysterectomy if that's what you want. And it's like, okay, it's the same thing what Hank is just saying. Those people will immediately reveal themselves because they will be the ones yelling the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be talking. He shouldn't be saying that. He's this, he's that, he's whatever. But if you look at the people that's doing the real damage, those same voices are supporting the Jeffrey Epsteins. If you go back and look, after he got indicted and everything like that, then everybody is silent. But before that, there was a lot of people supporting that. Just like there's a lot of people supporting the lifestyle that many celebrities have. And those same people who are saying, we shouldn't, these guys are doing some, the devil's work or whatever. Those same people, they will support the people in these industries that we now know. I mean, their actions betray them. We know that they're foul. Look,
I think that's Brother Sirius that gave you acknowledgement. Kudos, Master Yao.
He's a very powerful brother right there. And that's a guy who could really make contributions. And he has made some, but he's at the peak of his power. He could really be making a difference in society as a powerful black man who has done all kinds of stuff. I mean, the experiences that he has, he started out as a student a long time ago, but he's a master teacher in his own right and has been.
What is this?
Yo, this is my teacher, Brother Sirius. Yo, Laji. Right now he's doing the same thing that ET is doing, staying off the radar.
if people showed that they were truly interested and they weren't more interested in promoting all this deceit, and if they started supporting brothers that are doing this kind of work, that are making a difference, I think he would step up more. But
I think that'd be a bad move.
but everybody has said the truth, that the brothers who step out and say the truth get attacked.
They get
Our brothers just don't want to get attacked, don't want to deal with that no more. I know so many of them, man, like Serious Brother, that I mean the resume is amazing. When you look at the people he's impacted, the people that he's taught, the places around the world where he's traveled to learn, a lot of people ain't going to spend all that kind of money and time to learn so that they can teach your dumb behind. He has.
I think what you're saying, they will still be able, because the brother that we had on, what was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday, his products are selling like hotcakes in China. I mean, and all over the world. So I still think that we could do this as long as we are sequestered and build a hidden what do you call it? A breakaway civilization. You know, the one who they have told us is the greatest monster. When I when I was in the City College study group, if we were studying so hard, I just started studying for fun, unimaginable things. Like, what if Adolf didn't lose World War II? So I put that in a physics equation, and I started doing the research on it. And guess what? Who gave him the money? Because Germany was bankrupt. He had plenty of Jews in his organization. This is some of the things he was doing. He had one Jew who worked for England creating the money, just their dollar bill, their pound. So he had them create pounds. And he had one of his soldiers, a lieutenant, but they weren't in the clothes, take these pounds to Switzerland and tell them that there is, this is a debt that has been paid to you, but you don't trust the guy, and you're bringing the money to them, to the Swiss banks, to see if it's legitimate. This is what he had them do. They, in turn, examined the money and said, this money looks really good to us, but just so that you're sure, we're going to send some samples to Great Britain. They came back, bam, it was good. So Adolf created billions of pounds to buy equipment, to buy this, that, and the other. Now, if he did that with the British, what do you think he did with the Americans? Well, he didn't have to do that with the Americans, because they gave him a Jewish bank, gave them $32 billion to start World War II.
Hey, listen, Laji. I'll go back to South African Zulu shaman Credo Mutwa.
Okay.
He says the surface Europeans are not running the show. Credo Mutwa said it is the intraterrestrials that we might call reptilian who is using the Europeans for their agenda because they have an ancient resentment of black folks, against black folks. They're going back perhaps to Atlantis or Lemuria.
Well, I got a little insight on that particular piece right there. There was a king. Now, we talk about 250,000 years ago. That war that's in the Bhagavad Gita was called War Kurukshetra, where 1,660,125,000 men went together and just annihilated themselves. All right, bust. Now, after that war, the lineage that stayed in line was the lineage of the Pandavas, right? Now, the Pandavas was like Arjuna. He was the main dude on that field of battle, and his grandfather, Bhishma. The Mahabharata, which is the Bhagavad Gita, is just a tiny part. The Bhagavad Gita is a tiny, it's not even a chapter in the Mahabharata, dropping jewels of knowledge. Now, bust it. So it was the grandson of Arjuna, who was Lord Krishna's cousin, right? Had a son named Parikshit. Parikshit was killed by one of the Nagas. the Nagas. Like, you know, we read about the Nagas in the Bible. They called them Satan, but the Jews called them the Satans. They didn't call them one person. They said the Satans. They were changelings. They were Nagas. All right, bust it. Now, his son was named Janamajaya, but this is a powerful lineage, right? This is a powerful lineage. His son was named Janamajaya when the snake Tashaka, it's in the, I got a picture of it too. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, killed his father, who was the monarch, actually the emperor at the time, because they had just had this great war, and their lineage took over everything, right? The whole planet. We're talking about 250,000 years ago. All right, bust it. So his son, Janamajaya, now this is the lineage, Janamajaya, Parikshit, Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu, Arjuna, who was the main dude on the battlefield. And then his father was Lord Indra, right? That's the lineage. So it's a divine lineage. This is what's so key for us. The lineage, the blood, the DNA. Anyway, so he's performing the snake sacrifice, right? The snake sacrifice was, he is calling by a big pit, a fire. It's called a yagna, right? A big pit. So he's calling them by name, and wherever they are coming into that pit. And he's calling out the most powerful ones that's in the interior of the earth. They are being removed from where they are and going directly into that pit. And this other sage comes. His name was Jarat Karu. Jarat Karu stopped this sacrifice. You know, they stopped this genocide of the Nagas. So when he did that, they had to purify the situation, recite the Mahabharata, which was a history, not a scripture initially, a history. Now, bust this. Anytime any people or any government is being genocide against another government, protocol dictates that that government needs to take out the people who tried to take them out, because they might do it again. So the Nagas are moving toward taking us out. And this is not the first time they did it. That book that I showed you, I was trying to show what you were talking about, Dr. Master Yao, about the elementals. This is just a picture of the elementals, the water elemental, fire elementals, air elemental, and that's the wizard or the master who could call them up, right? So they said,
What book is that?
Secret Teachers of All Ages by Manly Palmer Hall. I mean, I had this for like 51 years already. That's why you see how it looked, you know. But so now bust it. So they said, look, we can change ourselves. Let's get into the Egyptian governments. Let's get into the emir's government or the king's government, or this one, that one government. Coming as a slave, coming as a cook, and get them to trust us. And when anytime that we can be alone with the pharaoh, along with the emir, along with the king, along with whoever is in charge, kill them and assume their body and their position and start running things from there. And that's exactly what they did. The priests figured out, the Egyptian priests figured out, oh man, that is not our pharaoh. So what they did is they found a way to expose him. And the way they did it was they created a word that Nagas cannot repeat. And that word was Kaninigan. So just like here, they would come to the people and a State of the Union address, right? So this time, the priests had, you know, the bodyguards, but the bodyguards had these swords with these big, you know, fronts like that. And that, you know how the swords was, you know, the closer it got to the handle was smaller, and at the top, it was wide. And then they told the pharaoh, great pharaoh, say Kaninigan. He couldn't. And they chopped his head off right then and there. And they sent word secretly around to all the governments of the world to let them know our government has been taken over by the Nagas. And this is what's happening. Ask them to say this word. If they can't say the word, take his head off right then and there. And this is how we was rid of them. But they never stopped. They never stopped getting us in a position and taking us out. Look at the symbol of the medical institution.
The Caduceus.
Yeah. And look at what they now giving us as medicine and telling us in our face, we think you so stupid. We're going to tell you this stuff is going to kill you, but we want you to take it. I mean, we in a real serious situation.
What did Martin Luther King say before they smoked him? Pushing all the integration, and then at the end, just before he got smoked, oops, what's the matter, Martin? I think I led my people into a burning house. What is he saying? What did that mean, Logi?
I started laughing at what you said. My wife always liked to make this comment. That's what y'all wanted, wasn't it? Little black boys get with little white girls, and everybody gonna be happy, you know. But what's bad about that? Jesse Jackson was in on it, and it's
Besides that, for him to say after pushing all the young folks, because the older folks wasn't going for that separation to collapse the educational, the financial structure to integrate and assimilate. The older folks wasn't going for it. It was the misdirected young folks, as they're being misdirected today through social media.
social
So we're
media.
going to the root. We're going to the root of the problem was when we was trying to, with the miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. It's the miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson.
That's why I like Booker T so much, Booker T. Washington, because he knew what was jumping off. He keep this face to the public, and behind the back, he's sending money to the ones that, you know, that's going to be radical and so forth and so on. That's what he was doing. And it was him who sent for Marcus Garvey. Now, if Marcus Garvey, the deal is, if it's not done in secret, they're going to take us out. We need to understand, just like Michael Corleone said to his brothers when they talk about going to war, he's like, you going to kill all those guys? You know, he said, look, their one objective is to get popped. Their one objective is to get popped. We got to stop them from getting popped. We got to kill that. We got to unalive that Soloso. What did Don Corleone say after they came from that big meeting where they're going to put the drugs in our community? Kill them. They're animals anyway. What he said, it wasn't until now that I realized it was Brazzini all along. It isn't until now that we realize the white people just pawns in the game. They're going to get rid of them just right after they get rid of us. We're talking about the Nagas. We're talking about the Draco. They're the ones. They got the power, and they're ruling things.
Now bringing it full circle, because life on this planet as is so short in the present state of affairs. What's the words of wisdom for those who are alive listening to the show? And Master Yao, you want to take that? Because the conversation we had, I think you should drop some of that as far as all the Jedis, male and female, in the audience. What did you say about a vibe?
Frequency. When all else fails, raise your frequency up and repel people from you who maintain a low frequency, whether it's in reading, books, or other environments. Importantly, guard your frequency. The next thing, men, don't pee in the pond. Don't pee in the pond. Even if you don't like what women are doing, don't screw up their frequency in your interaction with them. If you choose to interact with them, whatever the circumstances are, if they're divorcing you, if they're this, if they're that, yes, right now we got a negative situation, but don't mess up the whole thing over one woman. Lift her frequency up so that the next man will be working better. Ladies, you need to understand that as this thing changes, we can't always focus on what's happening, the crisis at hand. You got to understand, if you don't empower these men, there's not going to be anybody around. Pick up the pieces and help us, all of us, survive this. Because this is going to get bad.
It's going to get very bad.
Guard your frequency. And if your frequency is high enough, it can do a lot. It cannot do everything. It can do a lot to help us deal with the pain and the problems and the conflict that is coming. These next couple of years and these next few months are not going to be pretty. They're just not. And we're not going to be able to avoid all of the pain. Let's not get so clouded with the problems right in front of us today that we make it extra hard for the next generation to pick up the pieces and grow up out of the ashes. Those are my words, Hank.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Master Yao. Logi, you want to take it or you want me to add to it?
I'd like to put. I think we should all add to it. But what I believe, we have to have a breakaway civilization of love and light. I tell people all the time here. I'm doing it in the morning every day. We're doing prayers, decrees, chanting, meditation. 3 hours. I had to break it down to 2.5 hours because they couldn't take 3 hours. I had to take it down from every day to every other day, or rather 3 days a week. But we're still doing it. We have to create a breakaway civilization, and we have to create that Christ-like community, not just one guy. Because now what needs to happen is we got to bring down these beings in mass, and it can be done as long as we break away. Now remember this: what they do to Jesus when he came here, we should never forget that. We got to become powerful on levels that we can't even speak about on this platform here.
All right. Okay. Now you know I'm the mechanic and I love orgone. So I'm going to share Logi, Master Yao, audience. Okay. This is edible orgone, Master Yao. And I already posted the website, but I muscle tested this product and found that the orgone radiates through the container. So, ladies, men, there's a radiation in the environment called deuterium. Deuterium is the radiation that causes premature aging and premature disease instead of living to almost 1,000 years, healthy and enlightened. So this radiation is concentrated in food, it's in water, and unless you're living along the equator, eating a good diet, I suggest you take a little bit of this powder, put it inside a small glass bottle, and Brother E.T.'s listening to the show. Logi.
Cool.
Y Power Man is listening to the show right now. I gave him the heads up. And then have a locket or pass it over your chakras so that the morphic resonance from this high frequency product can radiate into stimulating chakra activation and cellular ignition. You see what it says? Reignite. And the reason I allowed my sisters this conversation is because we have to, ladies, please forgive the men, and men, please forgive the women. But we can't band-aid the trauma and the drama perpetuated by the young souls that are incarnated on the planet at this time. So I have found, beyond my own little products, that this is excellent for you to activate your crystals. Put a crystal inside, like a small plastic container, fill it with the Y power. What would happen if you take a small container of the Y power, seal it inside a glass, and then seal it inside of a crystal container, or seal it inside a Ziploc bag and sleep with your head on top of the Y power? What would happen if you create a Y power field over your heart chakra? Or ladies, if you have a health challenges, and this is not what he suggested, these are ideas because I like people having their own remedies if you give them the tools. What would happen if you take that and put it in a kufi or a hat? What would happen to the hair growth while you're taking this? Do this experiment with resetting your cellular age, is what I'm saying. Instead of pouring it out in a bathtub, what if you take it and put it inside of a small dish with a top? And then when you take a bath, you leave it in the bathtub and let the water fill up around it so that the water has the frequency of the Y power. What if? What if? So forgive all of the holographic dreams and take remedies for your divine activation. And that's why I'm inspired by Master Yao teaching energy cultivation for our spiritual elevation. But you got to become aware. We got to wake up to the subtle energies. He said, Back to the Future, the flux capacitor that's shaped like the letter Y. That's it. Don't tell the world,
Yeah.
Brother ET is not incarnated.
Yeah, you dropping jewels now.
Oh,
Dropping jewels.
Ultra Instinct found out Brother Y Power is Doc from Back to the Future, and this is a flux capacitor on the cellular level.
For real.
Yeah. So that's where we're taking this. World Traveler. That's Sifu Sirius. This is a good question. Find out. I don't know. We're gonna have Y Power guy back again because I don't know these questions. This is another one because Master Yao he teaches how to direct universal chi for the purpose of healing. Tell us about that, Master Yao. Come on now. Tell us about the directing of chi and how important that can be.
That's a tough subject to discuss in this forum because most people just aren't there yet. The few people that are probably already know the answer to that question. I mean, those who understand how to do this, activating their light body and trying to maintain love. If you're not having a power of love for the people that's really moving a certain way, you shouldn't be directing chi. And we are cultivating chi, cultivating it with the planet, cultivating it from the sun. First, I would say, before you're trying to direct this out of the world, work on cultivating it inside of you. My greatest battles are evolving myself. It's not fighting the fights that I fight. It's not work, trying to explore what's going on behind the scenes at the deep state and things like this. It's not worrying about what Trump allies and what he's getting ready to do next. It's not worrying about the feminists and the toxicity that they're creating. My first struggle is bringing forth God inside of me. Bringing forth, because we are the hand of God upon the earth. My first struggle is to be worthy of that and to bring forth God in greater abundance inside of me. All of these things we should use. The Y power, the orgone crystals, all of the different things that we've learned, to cultivate our chi. First and foremost, we need to be our heart pure, powerful, and at the center of it, love. That's it.
That's awesome. Well said. Because we're in a dream family. This is all a holographic dream reality, and we're learning to become dream masters through our heart. Uh, some of us in our past lives, who knows what form of body we may have incarnated. It might have been carbon based, it might have been crystal based, it might have been something totally unknown because, as Psalms 82:6 says, we are gods and goddesses. Go ahead, Laji.
I had this 20-volume work of the I Am discourses. First the Magic Present, then the Unveil Mystery, the Magic Present. But there's 20 volumes, Saint Germain's, and all of the beings that's really controlling the planet. I'm veggie backing off of what Master Yao just said. Now I've read pretty much on and now I went back to volume 17. I started reading it, but volume 17 is what the Christ is saying, whose new name is Sananda, right? But the Christ, I Am discourses. He is dropping it like it's hot. I mean, he's saying, look, you want to be ascended. This right here is the path. Now, every one of these books are the path. Every one of the books are the path. But Jesus is dropping it like he's just saying, I don't care what the secrets was. Here you are. You want to be the Christ? You want to attain your real station in this universe? This is how you're going to start doing it. Now he's dropping like it's hot. I mean, I got all 20 volumes here, and there ain't one that ain't the bomb jamming. But he's like letting it loose. He's like, you want to do what I did? Bam. And I mean, it's ridiculous. I started reading before, and I said, you know what? I want to get there. And I was reading this other book, this book here, right? And they were saying, look, you can get there. This is the Masters in their retreats, right? I showed this before. And they were saying, look, you can get there in 2 years. And like volume 1 and volume 2 was saying the same thing. Because if you blow that chance, it may be eons before you get another human birth. And I was like, well, how? 2 years? I mean, you won't attain in 2 years, but you'll be in such a position, they'll come pick you up. Well, if they come get you, you pretty much you in, and you're going to go there. You're going to attain the Christ conscious state. You got to stay in silence for 5 years in Ascended Master retreats. But way Jesus is dropping it here. Anyway, Lord Lanto, another Ascended Master, said, look, you can get there in 2 years. And that's what I was reading in this book, right? The Retreats of the Master. And as soon as I heard that, because I've been reading it in this one and that one, I'm like, how? And he goes, well, you can begin with sweet speech. Of course, no lying. Of course, you got to be celibate. All these other things that you're going to learn in the other ashrams, so forth and so on. There is a way to become that dude. There is a way. There is a way. And it's, in fact, all the way. You can do it. Doing the prayers, doing the decrees, doing the chanting, doing the meditation, doing the service to humanity, or if you're lucky enough, to your guru or your spiritual master. Studying these scriptures and stuff like that, so you'll have the information on how to go right. There is a way. And that's why I say, if we do that breakaway civilization, you can. It's there to be found, and that's all. I think that's our ticket.
Oh, that's interesting, because I think a beginning of a breakaway civilization is raising your frequency to break away from low frequency civilization, become the high frequency. And what higher frequency is there? What Master Yao said, of the heart.
Clearly, love. Clearly, love. I had my highest experience with love with this man right here. But had I not done that other work, I wouldn't have been able to experience what I was experiencing, though. A state of love that's unfathomable. No ego whatsoever, only love. You in that state, forgiveness was automatic. No negative thoughts, no nothing. Only then was I able to realize what love really is. What love really is, which is what we are, covered over with just like armor of metal and steel and of hate, that it can't even get out of us, because we have created this cocoon of unpenetrable steel. We're going to stay inside that hate. We're going to stay inside that lack of forgiveness. We're going to stay inside these negativity. We're going to stay inside criticism, condemnation, judgment, and blame. We're going to stay about lying. We lie so much, we don't even realize we've been telling a lie so long. We believe that the lie that we created, it had an ounce of truth in it, and all of this is holding us back. But you can change that. Prayer, decrees, chanting, meditation, service to humanity, or the guru. We can change that. And if we get out of this quagmire, because the media is more powerful, effective than standing armies, get away from that whole matrix. Outside of that, eating food that we grow and plant with our own hands and with mantras, and having the mantras. My guru used to have mantras playing over the fields where we was growing food. So not only was the feud planted with mantras, you know, it grew in a holy environment. And when we ate it, we said mantras over it. So we getting, where I lived in my guru's ashram was so powerful that I used to say all the time, if life here is this good, how much better could heaven possibly be? I mean, we could create that. I saw it. I lived in it. We could create that. But we can't create it among our enemies. We can't go in his house and do it.
Now, you know, ultimately, psychedelically, cosmically, it's all about frequency. So where is the real enemy?
And you. Bust it. In order to have an enemy, you got to be really in a super egotistic state. Because the person you call your enemy could be your best friend, the person you love most, your brother, your own biological brother or sister, mother or father. A person who has enemies is deep in the ego. And I tell you this: if we create that breakaway civilization, more white people will be there to help us than anybody else, 1,000 times faster and before any one of our darker skinned brothers. This I've seen over and over again, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in India, wherever it is, it's the white people that's coming with good intentions.
Wow. We're coming up on the 3rd hour, Master Yao. We got to wrap this up. This was amazing. This was, family, this is what is called shadow work. And Master Yao, this show, you give the last words.
I will repeat what all of you have said. I give honor to Hank, Rising Sun. I give honor to Baba Leji. And I give honor to everyone that's listening, because at least you have an intention to be better. In each and every person and all of my students, I tell them when you're doing this work, see the entire opposite sex in your partner. Let them represent, the entirety of that group, so that you're not so focused on their individual fallacies. We have to rise into a different state of consciousness. And the people that I'm really focusing this on are regular, common people. That's who's going to make the difference in the change. Regular, common people. And, I'm very serious when I say my hardest task is to be God, the hand of God on the earth. Me, because I do not always do that. I have to work on me first. That's it.
Ashe, aho. So, with that being said, let's close out with, not with a sneeze, but let's close out.
Sneeze indicates that what you said was true.
Oh, wow.
That's ancient wisdom.
I didn't know, but thank you. I want to thank all of the mystic Jedis who was listening to this show. I want to thank you. I'm going to play this song as in closing. In the depths of our hearts, we are love, dreaming a holographic human experience. And remember, God is the only reality. Thank you, Master Yao. Thank you, Laji. And thank you to all the listening audience now and in the future. Aho.
Thank you.